Oh, Hooters watching some game. Yeah. Welcome in, everybody. Here we go. Gonna do a little radio thing on a Friday. And there is Foam Foot 420. Look at that. First one in, Amber. Here we go. Amber, the woman who never sleeps. Voluntarily. I never sleep involuntarily. There's a difference.
Now, Chris Duel.
Glory, glory, hallelujah. Our glorious, wonderful, enchanting, delightful football weekend is upon us as the Pittsburgh Steelers nearly had a legendary comeback last night after falling in a 28-29 hole. They nearly come all the way back to beat Kirk Cousins. You like that? And the Minnesota Vikings. Welcome in. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. Shannon back again, second day in a row. You're on a roll. You're on a streak. When you do two in a row, I mean, I say that about the Spurs. You are now on a streak, Shannon.
That's right. Just in time for the weekend, too.
Woo,
Just
exactly.
in time for the weekend.
Speaking of streaks and Spurs, the Spurs have won 5 out of 7.
That's right.
You know, Meatloaf says 2 out of 3 ain't bad. The Spurs won 2 out of 3, then 2 out of 3, then another one. I think we need to contact Meatloaf. He needs to write a song. 5 out of 7 is pretty darn good to be the sequel to 2 out of 3. I don't know. Yeah. If I had any musical talent at all, and clearly I don't, I can empty a karaoke bar in about 37 seconds. I would write some of these songs. I don't know. I would. Now, Shannon, we are going to celebrate the beauty that is this NFL football weekend because, there is a big college game, the Army-Navy game. So, yeah, there's that. And they always do this every year. They play on the week that is kind of the season has run out for kind of everybody else. Bowl games haven't ramped up yet. So it is kind of cool that on that Saturday, and we should, because it's such an amazing, unique, historic game, we should focus on the Army-Navy game. But lots of NFL football was kicked off last night with Thursday Night Football. And, of course, for so many of us who are Dallas Cowboys fans, a big one against the Washington football team. And that's all wonderful, Shannon, and we're going to celebrate it. And we're going to have Coach A, Paul Alexander, in less than an hour. He is our football go-to guru. Mark VANDERMEER, the voice of the Houston Texans, going to join us at 8:35. We're going to make our NFL picks. But, Shannon, I'm driving home last night from the Spurs 123-111 victory over the Denver Nuggets, and just shocking, sad news out of the NFL. Demaryius Thomas, who had just retired before this season, a 5-time Pro Bowler, mostly with the Denver Broncos. You'll remember that Tim Tebow overtime touchdown pass to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers at Mile High. That was to Demaryius Thomas. That moment in football history where everybody thought, man, this Tebow guy is a magic. And Tebow was lackluster the whole game, and then overtime came, and boom, he hits Demaryius Thomas, who takes it to the house. Demaryius Thomas, Shannon, 33 years old, although no official cause of death. There are some reports that some family members said it may have been a seizure that contributed to this. There's nothing official yet. What we do know from it, my God, Shannon, 33, much too young to leave this earth. Very, very sad for Demaryius Thomas, and an outpouring overnight among his former teammates and other NFL players and fans.
Yeah, that's some news I woke up to this morning and was shocked. I mean, he was a guy that, I feel like I knew him a little bit in that he was always a guy that I went after for fantasy because, 5-time Pro Bowler, played with the Broncos and was just a a guy they liked to target and was very reliable. And I didn't realize he was even out of the league fully. And then this news, and it's just horrible. It's awful. It's not what you want to wake up to. For any NFL fan or to see for anybody to have to deal with this. I mean, we see so often guys, they leave the league and some of them really have doubts with depression and CTE obviously coming into the conversation and ways that we can fix these things. And he just apparently had an illness that no one was aware of. And it's just so sad. 33 years old.
Demaryius Thomas, I'm looking at some of his I'm looking at his Wikipedia, and won the Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos when Peyton Manning was there. In fact, I got to look it up. I came across it last night, and again, I just glanced at it. It was late last night, Shannon. I was kind of sleep deprived. It was after the Spurs game. I was still processing the Demaryius Thomas news, so I'm going to have to run this story down. But apparently, the final play of that Super Bowl, I read last night that Peyton Manning handed the football to Demaryius Thomas to give to his mother, which was, my God, what a gesture in that moment. I want to learn more about that story. And as I'm looking, Shannon, at his career, the bulk of his career with the Denver Broncos. However, in 2018, he was with the Houston Texans. So we're going to have to ask Mark VANDERMEER about his experience with Demaryius Thomas. Then in 2019, with the New England Patriots and the New York Jets, both that season. Demaryius Thomas was born in Roswell, Georgia, college at Georgia Tech. First round draft pick, number 22 overall to the Denver Broncos in the year 2010. And every time something like this happens, Shannon, and it happens, people we know, celebrities or athletes like Demaryius Thomas just going way too soon and unexpectedly at 33. It happens in our lives. At this radio station a little over a year ago, a great guy, Soundscape Stylist, doing what Jeremy is doing this morning. We'll say hello to Jeremy in a moment. His name, Paul Kidwell. We still have in this studio, we remember Paul. We still have photos of Paul, and we've got like his funeral program here in the studio. He's a guy who was just here one day and then unexpectedly gone the next day. And it just stops you in your tracks and makes you realize how fragile this life is, how fleeting this life can be, and no tomorrow is guaranteed for anybody.
Yes. And then when you put it into the sports world, I mean, this guy, again, 33 years old, was a 5-time Pro Bowler. I mean, we look at these athletes as godlike figures, right? The pinnacle of health, fitness, and sometimes, the fact that they're human gets lost on us. So I think we all kind of come back to earth when something like this happens.
And, you think about it, Shannon, 33 years old, he did what so many people want to do in life and certainly in the NFL, won a Super Bowl with the Broncos. So, presumably he's got a Super Bowl ring, and you just kind of expect this guy, for the rest of his life when he walks into anywhere in Denver or anywhere, back in Georgia where he grew up, just telling tales about being in the NFL. He caught 63 touchdown passes. You mentioned he was a fantasy player for you for quite some time. He caught nearly 10,000 receiving yards, and you just assume this guy's, had a very good NFL career, won a Super Bowl, gonna have a great life, gonna live to a ripe old age, and people are gonna walk up to him and go, "Man, what was it like to play in the NFL? What was it like to win a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning as your quarterback?" And then, seemingly in the blink of an eye, Demaryius Thomas is gone. So clearly, our thoughts are with his family. Our thoughts are with his friends. And by all accounts, Shannon, I'm listening to a lot of people talk about him overnight. By all accounts, a wonderful guy. Apparently, always a smile on his face, a great teammate, somebody that if you got to know him, you fell in love with him. So sorry to hear this news.
Yeah, not the way we want to kick off a football Friday, but
No.
he's definitely his life and what he accomplished, even in football, is definitely worth the mention.
Yeah, I'm seeing Laura Burris who joins us, and Laura works for the San Antonio Food Bank, so she's out there doing great things. Laura says, "I never miss a chance to say hello," and absolutely, never miss a chance to say hello. Never miss a chance to tell somebody you love them. Never miss a chance to tell somebody you appreciate them. You appreciate what they do. I think of Paul Kidwell, who we worked with here, who passed away last year, and you work with somebody. He did a great job. He was funny. He had a great sense of humor. But when you lose somebody like that, you realize you didn't tell him enough. I mean, I told him he did a great job, but if I had it to do over again, I would have told him that more often. And I would have told him how funny he was. And I would have told him how much, what a joy he was to work with. So, it happens in the public eye, in sports. In this case, Demaryius Thomas dies suddenly at age 33. It happens in our lives as well. So just appreciate and love and express your love and appreciation for the people in your life. And as you said, Shannon, it's not what we wanted to start off with on a Football Friday, but I just thought, if we're going to celebrate Football Friday and not reference this out of the gate, it's probably the biggest sports story today. And people will be talking about Demaryius Thomas throughout the day, throughout the weekend, during the NFL telecasts on Sunday. And, maybe we'll get more understanding about how he died, because there's not an official word yet. But we wanted to mention that and open with that. And we'll certainly talk about it a little bit with Paul Alexander. And since he did play briefly with the Houston Texans, Mark Vandermeer, the voice of the Houston Texans, going to join us at 8:35. And Shannon, the other big deal, there's a lot of big deals we're going to get to today, but Dallas Cowboys, high noon on Sunday. And we have just been assuming all season long Cowboys are a lock to win the NFC East. If for any reason they don't win against Washington on Sunday, they would then Washington would pull within a game of the Cowboys, with a head-to-head game left to play still. And the biggest thing, Shannon, I think it would allow doubt to creep in, not only to the Dallas Cowboys, but to Cowboys fans. I mean, as a hardcore Cowboys fan, I know I would start to think, here we go again, same old, same old. I would begin to think the Cowboys are doing to us what they've done pretty much since Jimmy Johnson left, other than the 1 year Barry Switzer won the Super Bowl with Jimmy Johnson's dudes.
If we can count on anything, Chris, it's that the Cowboys can't go 8-8 this year. They can't do it. It's impossible.
8-1. They could tie with somebody and go 8-1. I wouldn't.
I don't think. Are the Steelers on the schedule? I don't think so.
Not yet. No. Although I wish they were. I'm still bitter about those, about Super Bowl 10 and Super Bowl 13. 10 and 13, right? Yeah. Those are both of those 4-point losses to the Pittsburgh Steelers, Shannon. Not that I'm bitter. Not that I can't let it go.
No.
You dirtbag, no. Fred Swearingen, the referee in Super Bowl 13, calling that pass interference on Benny Barnes guarding Lynn Swann. That was not pass interference. Oh, by the way, Shannon, the people on the live video feed know this. But people on radio don't. I am wearing my Spurs hard hat through the whole show today. In fact, for radio, I'll let you hear the hard hat. I'm hitting on my knucklehead. So Spurs win last night. They beat the Nuggets 123-111. However, through a quirk of the schedule, they face the Denver Nuggets again on Saturday night. Shannon, you and I talk about this a lot. It's hard to beat a good team twice. And in the NFL, if you play a divisional rival 3 times, much less 3 times. Last year, New Orleans beat Tampa Bay twice in the regular season and had to face them in the playoffs, and Tom Brady took that one. So it's going to be hard, Shannon, for the Spurs to win on Saturday night. But I bust out. The Spurs have I don't know exactly what my record is, or the Spurs record is. I say like I have something to do with it. I don't know exactly what the Spurs record is when I wear my Spurs hard hat, but it is pretty good, as I recall from previous seasons. So for the first time this season, Shannon, I bust out the Spurs hard hat.
All right. Maybe we start taking notes then. Today, December 10th.
That's right. We'll see how they do against the Nuggets. There you go. Yes. And I have yet to bust out I told you this before the show. I do have a Greg Popovich holy prayer candle. And I've been saying, until this team learns to win, and I think they've just done that. They've won 5 out of 7 now. I'm getting a good feeling about this young Spurs team. I'm starting to believe.
I think they're surprising some people. I think they're gonna at least go over what was it, 28 games? Was the projection?
Yeah, 28 over under. Dirtbags in Las Vegas. Yeah.
Be all right.
5 out of 7. That's percentage 714. Woo! We burned the entire segment without saying good morning to Jeremy KOLOK, so we will do that on the other side. Great to have Jeremy back, playing a little Rocket Man from Elton John on the way out. We've got our Pro Football Prophecy today, Shannon Salty Shakedown, Sports History, Sports Birthdays, Coach A, Paul Alexander just after 7, Mark Vandermeer, the voice of the Houston Texans, just after 8:30, and next, the High Five Play of the Day. Thanks for hanging out with us till 9. Go Spurs, go. In Pop we trust on the Chris Duel Show. All right, let's see who's in here. Tracy Bogert. Well, and the hope is, and I keep comparing the Spurs to the Golden State Warriors, who were built through the draft originally before they got Kevin Durant, but they still won 73 games before Kevin Durant. It was smart drafting, smart player personnel, smart player development, getting Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. And I look at this young Spurs team. Some of these guys like DeJounte Murray, Derek White, Devin Vassell, Lonnie Walker, Trey Jones, Josh Primo. I think Keldon Johnson. There's a ton of young talent on this Spurs team. And if 2 or 3 of these guys hit, my God, they could be amazing. Let's see who's in here. Amber, Hector, Sam, Louisa, Ralph, Anthony, Laura, Jason, Tracy, James, Beth Settle. Good morning, Beth. Brian Birdie, who was at the Spurs game last night. Tracy saying Hugh Jackson will be hired as the Grambling State coach. Yeah, Sam, I did hear some family members said it was a seizure, although, we don't have official words. So I did mention that, but I mentioned it with the caveat. And I, in front of me, I don't have which family members said that. Well, look at that. I didn't know this. Laura saying the Spurs Pride shirt is available for Saturday night's game. I didn't know about that. And of course, Amber, a.k.a. Foamfoot 420, says, I will be in Austin this weekend for a bachelorette party. No sleep this weekend. See, the difference between you and me, you give up sleep voluntarily. I give up sleep involuntarily. Tracy Bogert, give Josh Primo a couple of years. He's going to be an absolute stud. I agree with that. Devin Vassell looks amazing. Keldon Johnson looks amazing. DeJounte Murray, taking it to another gear this year. Ralph, you are onto something. Ralph Baldera says, is it me or is Pop bringing more players in from Austin more frequently and keeping them longer than he usually has? Ralph, there was an interview earlier this season, just a couple of weeks ago. Brent Barry, former Spur, now Spurs vice president of basketball operations, was talking with Bill Schoening, and he said that because the Spurs are so young right now, they're bringing guys sooner and more frequently from Austin. Now, in Josh Primo's case, and others, if there's a chance for them to get a lot of minutes in Austin on one night, if the Spurs either aren't playing that night or the Spurs know that Josh Primo would only get 10, 11 minutes tonight at best against whoever the Spurs are playing, looking at the matchups, then they will send him to Austin so he can play 35 minutes and get a lot more experience. But I think once again, the Spurs are masterfully using Austin. So
LASIK Plus, we're now offering 20% off LASIK with our latest Wavelight laser when treated in December. Visit mylasicoffer.com. LASIK Plus, the patient's choice for LASIK. As mentioned, this promotion to be treated in
James Rippey says, from what I read last night, police suspect a medical reason for Demaryius Thomas's death. Yeah, as Sam mentioned, and I did read that as well, there are some family members reportedly saying he had seizures previously. Maybe it was a seizure. Okay, there's Sam again saying the four-letter network is saying that it's the Demaryius Thomas's cousin believes it was a seizure. Let me go pull up the latest coverage and see if that's in the reporting. Thomas would have turned 34 on Christmas. His birthday was on Christmas. And apparently he announced his retirement from the NFL in June. He said he's going to retire a Denver Bronco, but the Broncos had not yet had a ceremony for him. That was still to come. Peyton Manning said, quote, DT was a better person than he was a player, and he was a Hall of Fame player. Boom. That coming from Peyton Manning, that carries a lot of weight for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He goes on to say, quote, that tells you how good of a person he was. He treated my kids like they were his own. He was there for every teammate's charity event. Absolutely devastated, end quote. Multiple, I'm reading from the ESPN coverage. Multiple former teammates said Thursday night Thomas might have suffered from seizures in recent months. DeMarcus Ware posted a photo and simply wrote, heartbroken. And again, I mentioned this earlier. He caught that 80-yard touchdown pass from Tim Tebow in that overtime playoff win over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, Jason, I didn't know that, and I didn't see that in the reporting. Jason Paniagua says he was in an auto accident in 2019, and the seizure was a side effect from that. That's just so sad. All right, we got high five play of the day. See if there's audio associated with that. Yes. Wow, and I just saw this. Al Unser Sr. When I was a kid, Al Unser was winning the Indianapolis 500. Al Unser Sr., 4-time winner of the Indianapolis 500 and a 3-time champion of what is now called the IndyCar Series, died yesterday at the age of 82. He had been diagnosed with cancer 17 years ago. My goodness. Yeah, that's that whole family. He had a brother, Bobby Unser, who died in May at 87 in the race car industry. Bobby Unser Jr. died in June at age 65. My goodness. 39 wins in Al Unser's career and season championships in 1970, 1983, and 1985.
Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney.
Jeremy KOLOK with a hip version of I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus. Listen to this. Is that Mellencamp? Who is this?
That is Mellencamp, as a matter of fact.
Wow. John, and he used to be a Cougar. He went from a Cougar to a Mellencamp. John Cougar Mellencamp. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. Jeremy KOLOK, I was so long-winded. Imagine that. Didn't get a chance to welcome you in the first segment. I am remiss. So how are you doing today, sir?
All right, there's a lot going on, isn't there? But I'm doing well. It's good to be back in the saddle. So good morning to the both of y'all, and good morning to everybody joining us this morning. It's good to be back. They had me down the hall all week at Big Brother down the hall. So
can't you write in your contract saying that I will only do sports talk? I will not do News Talk 1200 WOAI.
I'm a company man. So
yeah,
I'm willing to go where told, but like I said, I'm happy to be back on this side of the building this morning. That's for sure.
Was Charlie Parker nice to you when you were doing WOAI?
Charlie's always nice. I wasn't on his show. They didn't have me coming at the crack. No, not quite yet. I guess I got to work my way up to Charlie Parker because, I mean, you know, he's kind of not that y'all aren't a big deal, but you know, Charlie Parker's a pretty big deal in this city. So.
I'll never forget when I was first hired in radio, they paired me with Charlie Parker in the afternoon, Shannon and Jeremy. And I love Charlie, but Charlie is known as being kind of a curmudgeon, kind of gruff. So whenever I would have an idea for the show, I'd run it by Charlie. And the response was often, I've been in this business 30 years. You've been in this business 0. No. All right, Charlie. I thought that was a good idea. I thought that'd be a good thing we could do on the show. But,
good talk.
Overtime, and I was like on the air with Charlie when 9/11 happened, when the election dispute of 2000, Bush v. Gore happened, all kinds of stuff. So I kind of grew up on radio with Charlie Parker, and he is very nice to me now. First year, not so much. It was almost like I was a rookie. It's the way you treat a rookie. And it was a little bit of tough love early in my radio career. from Charlie Parker. One more thing before we get into the high five play of the day, Jeremy, and I told you this off the air. And again, it's just a little anecdote, Shannon. I was telling Jeremy, when I went to USC and I lived in LA for 12 years, Los Angeles is so huge, you never like run into somebody like here at an HEB.
Wow, sounds nice.
It's like, oh man, there's somebody I know from high school or whatever.
Cool.
Or you meet somebody who knows somebody you know. In Los Angeles, that never happened. But in San Antonio and presumably in Austin, it does. So my friend who I grew up with, and he's often in here in the morning, Steve Duraco, texts me the other day. He goes, yeah, I was at work and I ran into a guy and it turns out it's Jeremy's father. And I'm like, what? So it's like San Antonio, 7th largest city in America, but it's a big little town. And I was just telling Jeremy, this guy who I've known since age 10 just happens to, at his work, be working for Jeremy's dad. And Jeremy goes, yeah, my son works with that Shannon and that Chris on that Ticket 760 AM 1300 The Zone show. So I said, Steve, so did he say Jeremy said, working with Chris and Shannon sucks? And apparently not. Apparently your dad said that you said good things about us, which was nice.
Like I said, I'm a company man, so I got nothing good. No, I do like being on.
It's a little backhanded, Jeremy.
No, it is an honor and a privilege to be on with y'all in the mornings that I am given that honor and privilege. So it's good to be back. And,
well,
he has a sign in front of him that says that
whenever he's stuck.
Just a compliment.
We love working with you. Luisa
and the music has been great.
Luisa just wrote, we like you in the saddle, Jeremy. So there you go. And I was even thinking when the Spurs won, I almost, because you said back in the saddle, I was even thinking Aerosmith has a song, Back in the Saddle Again. I was thinking that could be a Spurs song now, because I believe the Spurs, with their 123-111 win over Denver last night, they've won 5 out of 7. The Spurs, like Jeremy, are back in the saddle again. All right, it is time. We do this every morning at this time because we should, because people deserve accolades. We like to hand out high fives. It's the high five play of the day, appropriately sponsored by High Five, 2 locations in Austin. And Shannon, I often describe High Five, but you've been to High Five a lot. You've got personal experience, including axe throwing at High Five. How would you describe High Five to people?
A fantastic all-around experience, from food to activities to whatever sports and games you're looking to watch, with plenty of TVs. A great place, by the way, if you're still looking to do like a company holiday party. I don't know, maybe iHeart Austin might get one, because we haven't had one yet, unlike iHeart San Antonio. Lots of great team building activities, from axe throwing to bowling to that Top Golf Simulator where you can play one of my personal favorite games, the Zombie Dodgeball. Nothing says Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays like a little zombie dodgeball action with your coworkers. Today, Chris, because it is a Football Friday, we are going to be high-fiving a former football player turned internet sensation, one Pat McAfee. It was revealed yesterday via the interwebs that he's rumored to have signed a pretty large contract with FanDuel to continue doing what he's been doing since his retirement, which has been making sports-related content with his friends on the internet. He has his daily show on top of other content that he's been making. And for the past week, we've been hearing news of Pat McAfee donates here, Pat McAfee donates there. Well, yesterday he released a lengthy video on his Twitter page, which you can go check out. And in it, he basically broke down everything that he is donating to, how much he is donating, and why he is doing it. Chris, he's donated millions of dollars over the past week. So he gets this giant contract and immediately gets to work. He's been an NFL player, and now he's making more money outside of that. And he's immediately turning around and giving it to those who helped bring him up. Specifically, he mentioned Peyton Manning, who was nice to him his rookie year. He donated $1 million to Peyton's hospital of choice. A defensive player who he says was considered the really rough around the edges, hard guy on that Indianapolis Colts team where Pat was a rookie punter, was really nice to him as well. He donated $1 million for his For the Brand Is a youth program that he does with camps for youth around the country. He and his wife also do something with Fur, the brand for canine cancer, after having their own dog go through some cancer, which helps supports families in paying for animals who need cancer treatments. I mean, he just went across the board, giving and giving. And of course, he also gave back to his alma mater, from his high school to West Virginia University. And then we've got a snippet for you as to another place that he donated to. Here it is, Pat McAfee.
Where did I go after Columbia? I went down to Morgantown, West Virginia. And there was this place in Morgantown, West Virginia, where I learned what it felt like to serve in the community. Bill Stewart was a man who was one of my coaches, rest in peace. He was a tight ends coach and special teams coordinator my first 3 years of a senior year, became a head coach. And he was always big and give back to the community. So there was this children's hospital directly across the street from Island Pushkar Stadium, where players would get to go over there and interact with kids that are much tougher than all of us and see how it felt to give back and put a smile on their face. It was the first place I ever truly served the community. So we got to give them $1 million.
Just like that. He just gives them $1 million.
Wow.
He also gave his parents $1 million, which he was very excited to do. And he gave his core group of employees, his friends, where he started all this, but they started it from scratch. He gave them bonuses of $250,000. Chris, when he left the NFL, people called him crazy because he was a punter. That's a position that tends to have a pretty good shelf life in the NFL, right? You don't get hit a whole lot. So as long as you're able to switch the fields of play for your team, you can have a pretty great career. I think he made about $18 million during his time. So when he left, people were like, what are you doing? He wanted to go be a writer. He wanted to get into the media game, but no TV stations wanted him. No network was willing to have him on as a correspondent. No one was willing to help him out. He ended up working with Barstool in a little bit of way to help get him started, help him learn about the internet. He then broke off on his own. He's become a sensation, Chris. So I think this new contract he's found himself with is very well deserved just for his efforts and what he does. But again, he gets this contract and immediately just starts giving away money to all of those that uplifted him from his time from when he was a kid until now. And I'm sure he'll continue to do great things. So the massive high five to one and Pat McAfee.
Wow. I obviously was aware of him, knew who he was, knew about, his podcast. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers, a regular, and Aaron Rodgers very, forthcoming with Pat McAfee on that podcast. But now that you have told us all that, Shannon, and all that he has given and continues to give, my goodness, I am more of a fan now than I was before this segment began. Pat McAfee, I'm pulled up his information, 34 years old, went to West Virginia, born in Plum, Pennsylvania, was a seventh round draft pick, number 222 overall. And you made a great point, Shannon, and it's rare that a player makes more money after their NFL career doing something else than they do in their NFL career. Obviously somebody like Tony Romo, who signs the incredible broadcasting contract with CBS can do something like that. But and what you just described with Pat McAfee, a lot of people, granted, Pat McAfee was in the NFL, but as you described, he had to find his own way into the business, into broadcasting, and it wasn't easy. People will say to me, how do I get into radio? How do I get into broadcasting? Now more than ever, now more than when I began, there was no podcasting possibility. There was no get your own YouTube channel possibility. So now there's so many ways that you can at least begin on your own. There are not as many gatekeepers. If you've got a voice and something to say, don't wait for someone to choose you. Choose yourself. And there are so many ways now, if it's anything involving, and again, it doesn't have to be broadcasting or media. I mean, if you have a business that you want to start, not only can you start the business, but you can have a presence on social media, on YouTube, on TikTok, Facebook, Twitter. You can communicate that. And I just love the story you just described, Shannon, that Pat McAfee had to go his own way, blaze his own trail. And now, A, he's being rewarded for it, but B, to earn the kind of money he's earning doing what he loves to do, and then use his platform for good and give back in such a big way. Man, what a great story he is. And I'm certainly going to pay a lot more attention to him, his podcast, and everything he does from now on.
Yeah, he's a beacon of light in the media world, and he strives to be positive, and I think that comes through in his show. And obviously he's gotten a lot of recognition just in the last year with the Aaron Rodgers interviews. It's one of the few times where we see Aaron Rodgers let his hair down and talk candidly and like he's at the bar with a buddy, and talk very openly about the vaccine or what's going on with him and the Packers. So he just has a great way of doing things, and it shines through. And so I'm happy he's rewarded, and he's one of those people that there every now and then someone gets rewarded and you're like, not that person, they don't, they're jerks, we don't. But he goes and does all of this the second he gets that reward and rewards others around him. So I'm excited, because who knows what is in store for this guy in the future. I was actually lucky enough to be a part of a show where we got to interview him, and it was crazy because the interview came on so quickly. My personal phone kept ringing in the middle. We're trying to get a hold of him. My personal phone is going off with a phone number that I do not recognize. We then realized that it's Pat McAfee, and he was given my phone number to call and not the station phone number. So that's a very cherished phone number in my phone. Just and now even more so. I'm never going to use it. It's just awesome that I can scroll by and see his name, because obviously he's doing amazing things.
Very, very cool. And I heard somebody, I think it was Dan Patrick, talking about Aaron Rodgers, the way he does what he does on the Pat McAfee show, where he'll say things on that show/podcast that he won't say in a normal interview. And and what the point was, Aaron Rodgers has discovered something that other players are going to start using. So when a regular correspondent interviews Aaron Rodgers, like Peter King or somebody like that, Aaron Rodgers will give the standard answers, the cliches. Oh, well, we take them one game at a time, and we're going to do the best we can. And then he goes to Pat McAfee and says, as you said, lets his hair down and says what's really on his mind. More and more now, apparently, at least according to Dan Patrick, players are going to look to the model that Aaron Rodgers has established with Pat McAfee and just kind of create their own programming to say what they want to say, which is apart from what the networks and the major brands are doing. It's kind of a fascinating thing that Pat McAfee and Aaron Rodgers have collaborated on to kind of just create a whole new way for a player, in the case of Aaron Rodgers, to communicate what he wants to communicate to his fans and even his non-fans. It's really, really amazing.
Yeah, and I definitely credit Pat McAfee for kind of creating the mold, and he's not from a broadcasting career, so he's very much doing it his own way. And as a former player, just allows his guests to speak, because I think he understands, when you're in a press conference, especially in the Zoom era, we've talked about it before, you don't get the follow-up questions. You don't get to, say, well, that's not what I meant by what I asked you, or to say, is that what you meant by your answer? So he just opens the floor. And I think that creates a more conversational environment and allows guys like Aaron Rodgers, who are typically tight-lipped, to feel relaxed and open up.
A guy who always opens up to us, and we love him. He is our football guru. We are going to climb the Mount Everest of football. He is our Sherpa to the summit of all things football. The one, the only, Coach A, Paul Alexander. We'll talk all things pro, college, even high school football with Paul Alexander coming up a little bit later. The voice of the Houston Texans, Mark Vandermeer, in the 8 o'clock hour, along with our weekend football picks. Shannon's Salty Shakedown in the next hour as well. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Chris Duel Show. All right. See, we just had Clint Proctor and Lucinda Sullivan come in here recently. Good morning. John Williams, good morning. 17 of you right now in the morning with us. Good morning. If you're wondering, the Spurs hard hat, I've busted it out for the first time this season because the Spurs have won 5 out of 7, and they have a hard rematch. It's going to be hard to beat the Denver Nuggets consecutively. They beat them last night, 123 to 111. Those two teams turn around and play again on Saturday. John, it's not it's a diplomatic boycott. So the athletes are going. USA athletes are going to China. So it's not like the boycott that Jimmy Carter ordered when the Moscow Olympics happened in 1980. It's a diplomatic boycott saying, we're not going to send our people. We're not going to send the vice president or the president or anybody officially to stand there in China and be a part of your dog and pony show, apparently. All right, I am going to grab some more ice. Or maybe it's time to just bust out the beer and just start the weekend early at 6:56 in the morning. Maybe that's the or not. Okay. I'm going to get some ice. I'll be right back. Mike Taylor, kind enough to sit in for the next 90 seconds. You know him, you love him. You can't get enough of him. 4 to 7 p.m. The Mike Taylor Show.
Tackle your worst cold and flu symptoms with Max Strength NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, sore throat, stuffy head, aching fever, best sleep with a cold, medicine. Use as directed.
Find it in Golden Blue Oil and Walmart near you.
Woo! Woo! Thank you, Mike Taylor. Thank you, Mike Taylor, for filling in. Always nice. Nice of Mike to sit in for me there. Wow, look at that. Jason Paniagua says, did I hear Chris say it's okay to put Kahlua and Jameson in my coffee this morning? Yes, Jason, especially on a Friday, on a football Friday. Also, Bailey's Irish Cream goes very nicely in your coffee. I had some dreams. They were clouds in my coffee. Clouds in my coffee. And you're so vain. You probably think this song is about you. You're so vain. You probably think this song is about you. Don't you? Don't you now? Carly Simon, Ben's mom. Ben Taylor, son of Carly Simon and James Taylor. Very talented singer-songwriter. Okay, now, Lucinda, that's so exotic. I've never heard of it. Rum chata. I'm guessing that's rum, a rum kind of a thing. See, I lead such a sheltered life. I don't know what rum chata is. Let me Google that. RUMCHATA. Rum chata. Perfect blend of rum, cream, and flavors of cinnamon and vanilla. My God. We hand select them from around the world. I typically drink beer, so I'm not hip to rum chata, but I might have to check out the rum chata. There's a rumchata.com, which is slow in loading. I just went to the site and it's slow in loading. I guess maybe they're drinking too much rum. Steve Duraco says delicious. Steve, we were talking about you earlier on the show. I brought up to Jeremy on the show about 30 minutes ago that you met his father. Yeah, now we're all just talking alcohol. Crown Apple and 7-Up is Amber's drink. They also have ice cream at HEB. Oh, I just got to the Rumchata site to enter. You've got to put in your birthday because if you're under 18, you can't go to the Rumchata website, which I will put there. There's your Rumchata link for those of you scoring at home. Yeah, I put in my birthday. I might be too old to enter this site. It's like, whoa, dude. Rum chata. Comes in limon flavor, peppermint bark. They have a cold brew. Perfect blend of rum, cream, and flavors of cinnamon and vanilla. We hand select them from all around the world. It's not easy crafting the best tasting cream liqueur in the universe, but it's a challenge we've taken head on. See, you learned something new in the morning. I wonder if I should. There's what they say. There's your little rum chata line. Ramon Rodriguez Martinez, welcome from Ohio, sir. Birds up. Go Army, beat Navy. And Ramon, I asked you this. Did you say Dayton? You're at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base? I asked you that just the other day. And my short-term memory, especially when sleep deprived, is not at its best. Paul Alexander going to join us. Let me Shannon, I'm answering your question in the chat. Absolutely. We'll do that in the 8 o'clock hour. Okay, so let me make sure that we've got our Paul Alexander photo. There it is. Suitable for framing. Oh, you live on base. Very, very cool. And if I recall, you were prior military and now in a civilian/civil service capacity, which is so cool. Wes Perkins, Says go Spurs, go. Wreck 'em. Go get the golden mullet. Ewers. Does he have a mullet? I didn't know Ewers had a mullet. Quinn Ewers. Oh, we've got more prophecy from Foamfoot 420. My glass slipper says the Cowboys will win 23-13. Mark it down. So here it is on this live feed as we speak. Big time blonde mullet. I did not know that. Burbank Bulldog class of 76. Ramon, I was Holmes High School class of 78. So, I know Burbank played Holmes back in the day in football. So you were probably at a Burbank Holmes football game once, and I was in the stands. Bulldogs versus Huskies, man. That's pretty cool. Here we come.
Now, Chris Duel.
Glory, glory, hallelujah, and praise be to the football gods on high. Among them, football god Thomas Wade Landry, who was once a man, an extraordinary man, a member of the greatest generation. He flew B-17s in World War II. He went to the University of Texas. He was from Mission, Texas. He played for the New York Football Giants, became the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, before ascending into football heaven, where he looks down upon us and showers us with football blessings. And one man who also showers us with football blessings, and he's not yet a football god in heaven, but I would say he is a football god amongst men, and he reminds us when it's December especially, and you go, we got some football games to look at. Football is a perishable commodity. Once you just get used to it and you enjoy it, you blink, and it's February, and it is gone, and we are in the sports dark ages. The man who reminds us of that is the great philosopher and the man you can always find at radicallyrational.com, the one and only Coach A, Paul Alexander. How are you doing this morning?
Shannon, good morning. I love the term perishable commodity. I kind of identify with that. Good to be with you.
Well, and Paul, you have said that this season. You have said that over the years, and you are so right. We kind of just, it's human nature, I guess. We begin to take football for granted, which do not ever do that, because it can go away, and it will go away so quickly. And I'm with you. I think Shannon feels the same way. It is the greatest game, and we just love every second of it.
No question about it. I love it best when everybody's playing. And, of course, now there's this attrition because it is, as you said, a perishable commodity. But we still got roughly a quarter of the NFL regular season to go before the playoffs. And we've got 44 bowl games, and we got Army-Navy tomorrow. And we got UTSA doing what UTSA is doing. So life is good.
Well, Coach, I wanted to ask you about your plans for tomorrow, because that Navy game, middle of the day, I believe it's at 2:00 in the afternoon. So what's your day look like now that we're out of the regular season for college football?
This lays out so well for me. You know, last Friday I had the pleasure of doing a state quarterfinal game in Abilene. And last Saturday, of course, was conference championship Saturday. So I broke it like before dawn at Abilene. I got to get back so I can see the beginning of the Big 12 game and things like that. Well, as it turns out, I have another chance to do a semifinal game tonight in Abilene. But the difference is because the Army-Navy game does not start until later in the afternoon, I might actually be able to get some sleep and not be a danger to myself and others.
All right, Paul, and I love that you get to do another. I mean, nobody loves football on every level, Paul. No one I have a personal relationship with than you, and I think probably people I don't know, you would rank very, very highly just for your appreciation of the game that is football. What two teams are you calling tonight in Abilene? What's the game?
Okay, this is the Class 5A Division II state semifinals, and it's Lubbock Cooper that won the game that I did last week, and they are playing, and this is fascinating, Dallas South Oak Cliff.
Wow.
Cliff trying to become the first Dallas ISD team to win a state championship in 63 years.
Mike, and I had heard of Dallas South Oak Cliff ever since I was a kid. I mean, that is a school that has made noise for many, many years. And so many of us right now, Paul, we're either in the Austin area, legendary high school football in Austin, San Antonio area, great legendary high school football in San Antonio. Your experience last week in that stadium in Abilene, anything different, anything about the experience that stood out to you?
Yeah, they say boxing that styles make fights. I think that's the same thing is true in football. And look, I'm not knocking the spread offense, the total spread, but in doing a lot of high school games here in Region 4 around San Antonio, I mean, that's not only the predominant offense, it's almost the only offense. And I watched Lubbock Cooper last week, and they line up with two stud tight ends and an offensive line that goes about 265 across, and they're three deep at running back, and they do have good receivers. But this was kind of a throwback to Smash Mouth. And also, one of the things I'm so excited about, Chris and Shannon, these two defenses tonight, I don't think I'm exaggerating. These are two of the best high school defenses I've ever seen. Cooper last week was playing against a Wichita Falls Rider team that was averaging 47 points a game, and they got exactly 0.
Wow.
For the season, over the course of 14 games now, Cooper's given up 10 points a game. And by the way, over the same course of 14 games, Oak Cliff is giving up 12 points a game.
See, these are the kind of stats you don't get when there's no football to be played. You can't string these types of things together. I'm sure, Paul, throughout the week, these are the kinds of things that Paul looks at while the rest of us are just waiting for kickoff to start. Paul, want to move to some college football now. This week, University of Texas announced the Horns with Hearts. It's going to pay Texas O linemen as well as some other players $50,000 annually for doing charity work. They're calling it the Pancake Factory. This being the first year of NIL, it's all very new. To everybody on all sides, whether you're the player or the one giving the money. But people, when they heard this, said, oh, wait, we want you to give players money, but not like this. This, to some people, feels like they are saying, hey, you come to play for the University of Texas, you're going to get $50,000. But obviously there's the charity side of it that they have to complete in order to make that $50,000. But just wondering your thoughts and if you think it really is a recruiting ploy on the part of Texas.
Well, it's culture shock, for sure. I mean, keep in mind, I'm 67 years old, so I hear $50,000, and I'm going, what, these are all SMU recruits? I got to get used to the new way of doing things. And this is legal under the new rules. Again, $50,000, you got some sticker shock there for sure. And it will give them a recruiting advantage. But think about it. When is recruiting ever level? When is it ever equal? There are always advantages in going to one place as opposed to another. And the only thing I would hope for with Texas is if they're going to pay $50,000 per offensive lineman, I hope they get better return on their investment than they have the last several years.
Paul Alexander talking football with us. And Paul, the way the landscape has changed, as Shannon describes this $50,000 deal tied to charity for offensive linemen at Texas, I really think, and we've got the case now, Quinn Ewers, the quarterback who originally was going to go to Texas and then decommitted, and then he went to Ohio State this past year, and reportedly with name, image, and likeness made somewhere, some people are saying around $1 million. It would seem to me, Paul, in this new era with name, image, and likeness, where these players can make so much money on the side, it would seem to me a brand like Texas, for example, Quinn Ewers, I have heard, has narrowed it down to the Longhorns or Texas Tech. If you're Quinn Ewers, wouldn't you go where the biggest brand is? And obviously Texas, one of the biggest brands in college football. Wouldn't you have a better opportunity to exploit your own brand at a Texas in the modern era than going somewhere, for example, like Texas Tech?
Makes sense to me, Chris, and part of that has to do with who Quinn Ewers is, and I'm not knocking this, but he's already made it clear that that is a primary interest for him. So once you have decided that that's the route you want to go, then yeah, just in terms of generating revenue, you would think you would have a better chance to make more money at Texas than you would at Texas Tech.
Coach, we now have the Final Four laid out in front of us for the college football playoff. A lot of fans really fatigued by Alabama, but sure enough, by beating Georgia, they deserved to get one of those 4 slots. They will take on Cincinnati. What's your dream outcome to see in this finals?
You know what? I just, first of all, I'm looking forward to the matchups because clearly, the committee got it exactly right and in exactly the right order. And still, and I knew it was predictable, I knew this was going to happen. I'm looking at social media after the announcement, and the fix is in, and people are griping. And why didn't this? Are you kidding me? These are the kind of people that if they were married to a young Jacqueline Smith, would expect her to cook. I mean, they got it exactly right. And all these people who are clamoring for a 16-team playoff, why? There's no reason to do that. There's no reason. There's never been a year in which you had 16, ever, since the dawning of time, when you had 16 teams who had an actual chance of winning the national championship. And here's what I don't want to see happen. In the process of playing a meaningless quarterfinal game, I don't want to see the top seed lose their quarterback with a broken leg in a game that they won 53-0 over number 16. It doesn't make any sense. And we got all this nostalgic, romantic idea, and it all comes down to the Hoosiers crap. And anybody who says that, I'm just going to say it, you just don't understand the fundamental difference between football and basketball.
Coach A, Paul Alexander. And Paul, I just want to underscore and celebrate your Jacqueline Smith reference, which was stellar. A Charlie's Angel, for people who don't know. Well, Farrah Fawcett, and maybe rightfully so, sucked up a lot of oxygen in the room for Charlie's Angels. Jacqueline Smith, you highly regarded, and rightfully so, and a spectacular reference from Coach A, Paul Alexander. Paul, I want to ask you, and I didn't think about this until we spoke with Andy Everett yesterday. You mentioned UTSA at the outset, and what a season for UTSA now. 12-1, an opportunity to win 13 freaking games if they can win the Frisco Bowl against San Diego State University. But Andy kind of brought up the possibility. There was talk that UTSA would go to New Orleans for their bowl game, which would have been, my God, what a reward for fans and family of UTSA football players and staff. There was a talk about the Liberty Bowl, maybe against BYU. They go to the Frisco Bowl, and God love them, and I hope UTSA wins and goes 13-1 and makes a huge statement and wins their first bowl game ever. But Andy brought up the possibility that Conference USA, one of the reasons they landed in that Frisco Bowl against a very good opponent in San Diego State might have been the fact that they are going to leave Conference USA and go to the American Athletic Conference. Do you think perhaps Conference USA kind of stuck it to UTSA a little bit, giving them maybe not the most glorious bowl venue because they are going to leave the conference pretty soon?
This is what I understand happened. And if I'm wrong or somebody's got other evidence, please call it to my attention because I'm open to it. But, I like everybody who's a UTSA fan, and I am one. I mean, I looked at that and went, oh, man, that ain't right. That's a diss. Well, as it turns out, ESPN, in Conference USA, they own the rights to the Frisco Bowl. And so ESPN gets their choice of any Conference USA team they want. And in this case, ESPN desperately wanted UTSA. They were their first pick. So what looked like an absolute diss to begin with may have actually been a compliment here. Now, there's no consolation to fans, I know. Yeah, I'd rather go to New Orleans. Yeah, I'd rather go to Memphis. And by the way, as a Rice fan, I remember back in 2013 when Rice won Conference USA, and baby, they got a berth in the Liberty Bowl, and they played Dak Prescott at Mississippi State.
Wow.
I can understand people, being a little disappointed about this. And the following year, Rice didn't win Conference USA, but it was still very good. And they played in the Hawaii Bowl. So I get it, but it may have been that they weren't insulted to the extent we thought they were.
Coach, last night in primetime, we had Steelers and Vikings. Now, if I were to tell you Kirk Cousins in primetime, we know his record isn't stellar. He's 14 of 31, throws for 216 yards, 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. You probably think the Vikings walk away with a loss, but they put it to the Steelers, especially in the first half, win 36-28. Doesn't look like the Steelers really gained any momentum following that win over division rival, the Baltimore Ravens, last weekend. We also got murmurings that this could be it for Big Ben. So we were debating earlier in the week, so I wanted to get your thoughts here on Big Ben's career and if you feel like he'd be a first-time ballot Hall of Famer for the NFL.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, all that time being the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you got a couple of Super Bowls. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's open and shut. But I want to ask you guys some questions. You're watching this game last night, and the Vikings have 29-point lead. And then in the second half, the Steelers start coming back. Did you doubt for a minute that the Vikings were somehow going to find a way to mess that up and blow that game? So I was a little bit surprised there. And the other thing boy, this is harsh. I'm watching this game, and I know that Troy Aikman made some references to this last night. That's the Pittsburgh Steelers? They're playing basketball in shoulder pads. They're not tough. They have no discipline defensively. That is not a physical team. And now I'm going to go ahead and say it. It happened to every coach in NFL history, regardless of how great you were. And at some point, it will happen even to the sainted Bill Belichick. I'm telling you, after a while, sometimes it takes a couple of decades, but everybody's message, including mine, gets stale. The Steelers are no longer listening to Mike Tomlin.
Wow. And, I heard Mike Tomlin's post-game comments, Paul, and yeah, he was hot, and he said changes will be made. He said something along the lines of no stone will be unturned. We're going to, he was very unhappy, but I agree with you. Your first question, yeah, especially with Kirk Cousins and his track record in prime time, I fully expected the Pittsburgh Steelers to come back and take that one away in historic fashion from the Minnesota Vikings. All right, Paul, we can't have you on and not talk a little bit of Dallas Cowboys. We, for several weeks, have been saying Cowboys are a lock to win the NFC East. Let's keep winning. Wow, wouldn't it be nice if we could get home field throughout the playoffs? Well, then the Cowboys lost 3 out of 4, and while they were stumbling, the Washington football team was rumbling, and the Cowboys have a 2-game lead over the Washington football team. But if Washington gets this win on Sunday at high noon in Landover, Maryland, they will cut it to a 1-game lead with 1 head-to-head game remaining between the two teams. Are you concerned about this game against Washington on Sunday, Paul?
Absolutely, I am. And first of all, what got into Mikey Mack? I mean, I know he spent 10 days in COVID dry dock. So he comes out yesterday, and by the way, I was not offended by it. I kind of loved it. It was just so uncharacteristically. We're going to win this football game. I'm totally confident. I kind of like that. But that's not something that you hear from McCarthy a lot. And here's the thing. I'm very optimistic that Dallas is going to win the game. But let's talk about what's going on right now. All of a sudden, Washington's defense has become what it was supposed to be all along. As you said, they won 4 in a row. Okay, they're in kind of a nice Rivera groove now. You can tell that he likes his team. And the other thing is, I don't know how much people have watched Taylor Heineke. Man, that's a Heineke that does not leave a bad aftertaste. Good football player. I mean, that guy is a swashbuckler. And you look at the Cowboys situation right now, Pollard, with a torn plantar fascia, which is the medical term for, dang, my foot hurts. And you got Zeke trying to get through all this. I didn't realize this until I saw the stat this morning. Zeke has not gained more than 51 yards rushing in his last 6 games. I'm optimistic that the Cowboys can win this game, but would I be the least bit surprised if the Washington football team won? No, I would not.
Yeah, and if that happens on Sunday, and that lead in the NFC East goes down to a game, and those two teams are going to play again, it will be time to get a little bit nervous if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan. He is Coach A, Paul Alexander. Paul, we love talking football with you. Your takes on football and sports are always stellar, thought-provoking, and entertaining. But the good news, if people may not know, you don't only have opinions on football, you've got opinions on life, on culture, on rock and roll, on politics, and it is all there for the world to revel in at radicallyrational.com. I highly recommend the site. I've had the privilege of doing a podcast with you at radicallyrational.com. For people who may be new to it, who may be sampling it today for the first time, how would you describe your website, radicallyrational.com?
One place to be. It's like an amusement park, but the premise is that we really don't like, or at least I don't like living in a post-fact, post-truth world. It is the foundation of all the insanity that we are seeing in this country right now. So our whole thing is we want to bring facts back into fashion. We want to make simple sanity sexy again. And we want to have a good time illustrating it.
It is tremendous. It is a great internet destination. Paul will make you think. He will make you laugh. He will open your eyes. Go check out radicallyrational.com. Lots of video, blogs, sports, everything you're looking for at radicallyrational.com. Paul Alexander, I'm so excited. And I hope somebody posts a YouTube, man. I would watch the whole darn thing, as tonight you're headed to Abilene to call the Division 5A Division 2 game between Lubbock Cooper and Dallas South Oak Cliff. Sounds like a blast. I will be looking for that score tonight. Coach A, Paul Alexander on a Football Friday. Thanks for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Just real quick, and thank you very much. This is amazing. This is the moment. I do a little research on the stadium that we're doing the games from tonight, and the first line of Wikipedia says was built to look like Rice Stadium. Let's go.
Oh, my God. And we know your affinity for Rice Stadium and for Rice University and the Owls. That is huge. Thank you so much, Coach A, Paul Alexander. Go check out radicallyrational.com. Coming up, Shannon's weekend edition of the Salty Shakedown. We've got your sports history. We've got your sports birthdays. And, oh, by the way, Paul referenced Mike McCarthy's prediction, guarantee, prophecy. Yes, we've got that audio. We'll get that audio to you here in just a little while as well. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. Jeremy KOLOK making the show go. Thanks for hanging out with us till 9. Just after 8:30, Mark VANDERMEER, the voice of the Houston Texans. Among other things, we'll ask him about Demaryius Thomas, who passed away suddenly yesterday at the age of 33. He spent some time with the Texans. We'll see if Mark VANDERMEER crossed his path when he was a Houston Texan, his thoughts on that as well. Don't go anywhere. Thanks for hanging out on the Chris Duel Show. Well, and John, that will be Paul on that broadcast. He's doing the TV. So, wow, I've got to go check that out on WFAA.com. That's huge. I'd love to catch that and catch Paul's play-by-play and color commentary All right. Do I have enough ice to get through the next segment? Go grab some more just in case. Woo! Mike Taylor, ladies and gentlemen. Sitting in. I would offer him a Bud Light if he wanted one. I'm just saying. Ice, baby. I'll be right back.
To celebrate State Farm's surprisingly great rates, we give the strong surprisingly great rates.
Hey neighbor, when you think it hard to file, State Farm, switch it up style. Great rates in capsule, if you come join us, you'll get your points up low. And you know you can make that flow. And you call it on your ride and your home. For great service on the low, then call up State Farm, it's time to switch it up.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Woo! Woo! Thank you, Mike Taylor. Mike Taylor and the Mike Taylor Dancers. Very nice of him to sit in for me.
At LASIK Plus, we literally have thousands of 5-star reviews. Our patients.
I would do it for him.
LASIK Plus provides.
And I have.
So we decided to check in on some of our reviewers. Hi, are you Sarah _34?
Yeah.
I'm from LASIK Plus, and we just wanted to thank you for giving LASIK Plus.
Okay, let's see what Wes Perkins has here.
I got a customized treatment plan.
Wes Perkins writes, Wes is a Texas Tech guy. One thought about Ewers. If this was mostly about money, he'd have chosen Texas again nearly immediately. The fact that he has been tight-lipped and continues to listen to McGuire and Tech says that it might be a better fit. Why go to a struggling culture in UT football that's about to get blasted in the SEC when you could be the stud in the new Big 12 and have the same guy mentor you that mentored Mahomes? But all right, Wes, you make a very good case there. And big picture, if Quinn wants to, if he dreams of being as successful as Patrick Mahomes, then, Yeah, I mean, yeah. And, Mahomes is a great poster child for Texas Tech football, clearly. And you never know a guy like Quinn Ewers. Oh, look who's here, Taro Kotani from Tokyo. John Williams with a link. Taro was with us last night as well on the Spurs. See, now I can't. It won't let me copy your link into the. See if I can. No, it won't let me do that. Hey, John, if you can, send me that link via Facebook because I can't copy and paste it from where I am. Anyway, for those of you who may be new, Taro Kotani, and there's his name there. He's saying go Spurs go, GSG. Taro is, hang on one sec. Yeah. Yes. I think Shannon does that, but I would ask her specifically. So I think she does that separately and uploads it to a couple of places, but she would have that answer better than I would. But thank you. Thanks, John. John always sends me a lot of info. Got to give you a producer credit, John. See, okay, where did that go? That is so cool. I appreciate the link, man. I will check that out tonight. I might even do some on my home PC. I can just, screen capture the video, and I'm assuming that's Paul Alexander's broadcast. So that's way cool.
We're back. It's the Chris Duel Show with 79760.
The original MJ, Michael Jackson. Then there was Michael Jordan. And now there's MJ10. Mac Jones. Welcome back in. It is the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. Shout out on the live video feed. And if you're new to the show, we stream live video on Facebook Live, on Ticket 760 and AM 1300, the Zone's Facebook Live pages, on the Twitter pages to those two great radio stations, on YouTube. So Taro Kotani has just joined us from Tokyo, Japan, as he often does. And if you're new to the show, we've had Taro in studio here, and we will again, because Taro, he loves the Spurs. He's the greatest international Spurs fan, was actually recognized as such by Tony Parker when Tony traveled to Tokyo. And Taro has traveled 16 times from Tokyo to San Antonio to see the Spurs. So if you think you have a long commute to Spurs games, Taro has you beat. By the way, and if you are on the live video, I am wearing my Spurs hard hat because it's a hard task ahead for the Spurs Saturday night to beat the Denver Nuggets twice in a row. And that would be 6 out of 8 games if the Spurs could win that one. Spurs beat the Nuggets last night, 123-111. So welcome in Taro Kotani from Tokyo and everybody else on the live video feed. And one more thing about it is, we talk to you during the breaks. People in there talking amongst themselves. John Williams out of Dallas just gave us a link to WFAA.com. They're going to air online the television broadcast that Paul Alexander is doing tonight that game in Abilene between Lubbock, Cooper, and Dallas South Oak Cliff. So I'll check that out tonight. Get my Paul Alexander football fix tonight. That should be a lot of fun. In a moment, Shannon's Salty Shakedown. Do want to point out we're going to make our weekend football picks just after 8 o'clock. Paul referenced some Mike McCarthy audio. He going out on a limb yesterday saying the Cowboys will win over Washington. We've got that audio for you. We'll get you that coming up as well. And just after 8:30, we'll talk Houston Texans, NFL, and more with the voice of the Houston Texans, MARC VANDERMEER. And as Shannon and I discussed at the outset, big sports story, very sad story. The sudden passing of five-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion with the Denver Broncos, wide receiver Demaryius Thomas at the age of 33. He did spend some time with the Houston Texans. We'll see if there's anything that stood out to MARC VANDERMEER about Demaryius Thomas, among other things, when we talk to Mark just after 8:30. All right, the Salty Shakedown is moments away, but first, how about some sports birthdays and this day in sports history? December 10th, 1961. Houston Oilers utility back Billy Cannon gains an AFL record 373 combined rushing and receiving yards as the Houston Oilers beat the New York Titans 41-21 at the Polo Grounds in New York City. If you know your football history, the New York Titans became the New York Jets back in the AFL. But Billy Cannon, man, what a day for him on this day in 1961. On this day in 1983, the Australian Open tennis, Martina Navratilova won her 8th career Grand Slam singles event. She beat Kathy Jordan of the United States, 6-2, 7-6. On this day in 2005, the 71st Heisman Trophy was given to USC running back Reggie Bush. Reggie, I don't think so. I think we're taking that Heisman back, Reggie. Reggie has tried to get that Heisman back again, but not yet, Reggie. Shannon was very excited on this day in 2012 as the 78th Heisman Trophy was awarded to Texas A&M quarterback Johnny Manziel. Johnny Football, the first freshman to ever win the award. Shannon, I heard Johnny used to come to Austin and party at Longhorn parties. Did you ever party with Johnny Manziel?
I never partied, so no, but I'm very aware that he was in town plenty of nights.
See, that would have been great. You and Johnny together. I have a feeling you might not
I
have been.
think people would question my personal choices had I ever been in one of those situations.
Good
Maybe.
point. Finally, 2016, another Heisman Trophy, the 82nd Heisman Trophy, went to Louisville Cardinal quarterback Lamar Jackson, now pretty darn good in the NFL. He was the youngest player to win the Heisman at the age of 19. That's your sports history. I got 3 sports birthdays for you. Born on this day in 1883, College Football Hall of Fame coach Jesse Harper. You may not remember him because he was born in 1883. He died in 1961, but he was the coach at Notre Dame way back in the day, and his head coaching record at Notre Dame was 57, 17, and 7. It's a pretty good record as a head coach at Notre Dame. Jesse Harper was born in Paw Paw, Illinois. I didn't even know there was a Paw Paw, Illinois. That's where Jesse Harper was born. Born on this day in 1959, Mark Aguirre, NBA forward, Detroit Pistons, and elsewhere. He was born in Chicago, Illinois. And finally, on this day was born another Heisman Trophy quarterback. He was born in 1996 in Ames, Iowa. He would grow up to be Joe Burrow, who won that Heisman at LSU, won the national championship in 2020 with LSU. He was the MVP of the national championship game, and now, of course, the quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals. Happy birthday, Joe Burrow, Mark Aguirre, and Jesse Harper. Those are your sports birthdays and your sports history. And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, countrymen, pole assassins, and monkeys, here it is, your weekend salty shakedown.
All righty, Chris. It's coming. We know it's coming.
Uh-oh.
We're all very excited about it. And EA has given us a date, which means all of us fans are now eagerly awaiting. We've got it marked on our calendars. We're ready to hit that pre-order button when it occurs. Ooh. So EA, you better not mess up on this one, because yesterday it was revealed that they plan for the cult-like following of the NCAA football video game to return in the summer of 23, specifically July 1st. We've got it down to an actual date, Chris. Of course, the game went away for a number of years. There was lots of issues with, players' name, image, and likeness, and certain schools not wanting to be in the game. Of course, when it was announced that it's coming back, some schools even had pushback on the matter. But fans who grew up playing the game, who prefer it over Madden — I personally am not a big fan of the Madden experience — are super excited to have the games return. In fact, we don't want Madden people. If you've ever worked for the Madden series, don't go over to EA. Don't touch it. Don't touch my game. Let's keep it pure. Let's update some graphics and move on our way. But Chris, the summer of 2023, July 1st, that's a lot of time for football fans to then sit down and play season after season with their favorite team and come into that following August, late August, early September, feeling a certain way about their roster, their real life team. Do you think, with the era we're in now, next gen stats, video games being more lifelike and, life imitating art, that we're going to have a lot more couch coaches and maybe criticism just from the general population, or people who think they're us, who want to share their opinion even more about their fellow team following the release of NCAA football in 2023?
It makes sense. I mean, people get so invested, and then people begin to believe, hey, I know what I'm doing. I'm really good at this. Somebody needs to listen to me. Now, why, Shannon, 2023? Why not 2022? Why a year from July 1st is it released?
I guess it has to do a lot with the pushback they have gotten from some schools, right? They're going to have to work out all of those agreements and contracts. And they need to make the game, it's going to be a fine line to make a game that is like the game people used to know and love and play all of the time, such as myself. And I'm bringing into this new generation of gaming, which has changed drastically. EA is the creator of a game called Battlefield. They typically come out with a new release every 4 or 5 years. They recently just released their last version. We talked about it. They featured an old man, Tom Brady, still playing football in 2042 in one of their commercials.
Funny.
But that game was released, and a lot of people don't really care for it compared to the version that was released years ago, right? So I think with the backlash of that, on top of everything else, they don't want to release it too soon and then have those issues. But obviously, with football fans eagerly awaiting, I think it'll probably break records as far as video game sales for sports games. So I think 2023 sounds about right. It's going to be hard to wait, but I think it'll be well worth it. I think.
And now, Shannon, I'm going to jump in because I see Jeremy is telling us he was playing NCAA 2014 last night in honor of this news. So, Jeremy, you are excited about this.
Well, as a young-ish sports fan and a gamer, any sports game fan knows or should know that the NCAA football franchise is by far the best sports game franchise that we've had. Yep. So, and 2014 was the last year of it. So that is the most updated that we can play, unless we want to deprive ourselves of the best game. So, I was hitting the recruiting trail last night hard. I mean, it's tremendous news, and if they're going to take this long, it better be a good game. That's my.
I think it was the 2009 version where, for whatever reason, EA was like, let's make every single player extremely ripped, just extremely, like Colt McCoy was looking like a Tim like it was insane. Let's take our time. All right, 2023, you got it on our calendar. It's plenty of time. to get this thing to be as perfect as it possibly can. Keeping it with the NCAA, but moving to real world football now. We had championship weekend last week. The AAC or ACC championship game between Pitt and Wake Forest was a big one. I don't know how much you saw of that game, but Chris, I'm sure you saw Pitt quarterback Kenny Pickett's rush, in which he did a fake slide to fake out Wake Forest and continued running, ended up scoring a touchdown on that play. Chris, they have now banned the fake slide for the remainder of the college football season.
Wow. Makes sense. I mean, the slide is there to protect you, so I kind of get it.
Yeah, they've added it to the rules for now that it's considered dead ball, loose rule, that, you know, it simulates a false, you know, that they're going to slide, and defenders are taught if a quarterback or a runner goes down with their feet, you know, you got to let up. Now, in rewatching this play, the immediate defender in front of him did not stop. He was so far out of him, I don't think he felt like he would run into him anyway. But the chaser behind him did abruptly stop as the slide looked like it was going to commence, and then he had to speed back up once he did the fake out. I thought it was one of the cooler plays I've ever seen. I don't know. They're going to review this in the off season to see if they really need to make this a hard and fast rule, how they would, you know, counter it in the future. But I guess you're saying you're cool with them being like, yeah, we can't do fake slides.
I mean, it was cool. It was innovative, but I, you know, the spirit behind the slide is to save quarterbacks for a player to give himself up so that he doesn't get, you know, destroyed by a defender. So I mean, I credit him with the savvy and the innovation, and I'm looking at it again right now. I just pulled it up on my screen, but yeah. I mean, but then again, you run into this. What if somebody's doing a stutter step and some ref throws a flag and says, "Oh, that was a fake slide," and he goes, "No, I was just stutter stepping and moving my feet a little bit. I wasn't doing." So I mean, you might run into that as well. How about you? It sounds like you are pro fake slide.
Yeah, kinda. I mean, I get that it's really hard, and you know, you if this becomes a thing. I mean, the athleticism to pull this off. I mean, I would have, you know, done the fake and then pulled something and then downed myself, right? I would not have been able to pull back up to keep that momentum going forward in the way that Pickett did. But I understand from the side of the defense of like, well, I can't, what if he did decide to slide? What if he was going to fake slide, saw me coming full force, so went ahead and slid anyway to just tack on an extra 15 yards for the penalty? You know, I can see why there's some pushback on it. I just thought it was such a sick play as a fan to sit there and watch. And I wouldn't mind seeing others maybe attempt it in the future, but definitely something to be on the lookout for. I also love the NCAA in the middle of the season was like, yeah, no, go ahead, cut that out. We're done with that. One and done on this one, at least for now. All right, finally today, we move to more Shaq news. We love some Shaq news. He's a great guy. He's a generous guy, and he's a very rich guy, Chris. So rich, in fact, that earlier this week on a TNT broadcast, he and his good buddy, Mr. Charles Barkley, were discussing Bill Russell's championship rings. Bill Russell is working with Hunt Auction to auction off a large amount of his memorabilia. This 11-time NBA champ, Bill Russell. Money will benefit his foundations that he's a close part of, Mentor and Boston Celtics United for Social Justice. So it's all about giving back for him. He's obviously got tons of memorabilia from his time in the NBA. Shaq said he'd be willing to bid on all 11 of his NBA championship rings and outbid anybody.
Wow.
I mean, if you're Shaq, that's a little unfair. You go to this auction, and then to your left, you see Shaq, and on your right, you see Charles Barkley. I'm leaving. I'm not going to that. Thank you. It was great to see everyone. I'm out of here. But unfortunately for Shaq, Russell only selling 2 NBA championship rings. He's also got an NCAA title ring as well as a Hall of Fame ring that he's auctioning off. So I wanted to pose this question to you, sir, because I feel like maybe I have an idea of what you would go for. If you had Shaq money and your favorite sports figure was having an auction, what would be the item that you would be like, it doesn't matter where this number goes to, that is what I'm going for? I'm going to tell you my thought first before we get what you would go for. Because of your love of Tom Landry, I would say one of his fedoras.
Yeah,
would be what you would
boom.
hold for.
You nailed it. Yes,
Yeah.
it would be a Tom Landry fedora that represents him. Yeah.
I have
What
no
about
idea
you?
what I would go for. Maybe like the Justin Timberlake Jordans from the Super Bowl commercial or Super Bowl performance, which is like
Yeah.
quasi sports related. I don't know. Maybe if the Cowboys were to actually win a Super Bowl, a ball from that game, I'd go
Woo,
for.
that'd be nice.
Or I could just be like Shaq and go to these auctions and probably raise my little cue card for everything that goes up in said auction. There it is. Today's salty shakedown.
Spectacular salty shakedown. I did see Tom Landry's fedora on display at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I got a photo of it in my phone. I might have to post that. Coming up, our weekend football picks, Mike McCarthy's bold prediction, and Mark Vandermeer, voice of the Houston Texans. Big 8 o'clock hour next on the Chris Duel Show. Yeah, see if I can find I got a photo of, it's... And very perceptive of Shannon to say that, because I have a photo of the Tom Landry fedora that I took at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It may take me a while to find it. Now this is going backwards. That's weird. Let's see. I've still got ESPN on here. Let me get rid of that.
Hands up! Put your hands up! You can see in the video, Davis eventually puts his hand above his head, but shortly after,
I was talking with my neighbor Lisa the other day about the LASIK.
Don't do it!
I told Megan, my friend.
Okay, let me get that off. Don't know why that's on there.
Great experience.
Yeah, I'm Gary. I told Lisa about LASIK Plus, and now they customize a treatment plan specific for my eyes.
Maybe that's what that is. Okay.
Than anyone else. So if you're ready for a life of new vision, ask a friend. We're confident they're going to say LASIK Plus. Wait, and you are? Oh, I'm Matt. Who told Gary? Who told Lisa? Who told Megan? Right now at LASIK Plus, we're offering 20% off LASIK with our latest wave light laser when treated in December. Check out the thousands of 5-star reviews, then visit mylasicoffer.com. LASIK Plus, the patient's choice for LASIK. You must mention this promotion and be treated in December of 2021 to qualify.
And there it is. I might have to tweet this one out. The Tom Landry fedora from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'll zoom in on the fedora here. So yeah, I'd probably have to buy that one that was in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. All right.
Tackle your worst cold and flu symptoms with Max Strength NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, sore throat, stuffy head, aching fever, best sleep with a cold medicine. Use as directed.
Find it in the Golden Blue aisle at a Walmart near you.
So I just tweeted out the Tom Landry fedora. See if I can spot that. And then I'll... All right. I need to pick 3 football games. Got to pick the Cowboys game. I have no choice. See, Seahawks are 8.5-point favorites at Houston. Houston lost 31-0 the other day. I may stay away from that. Bills Buccaneers. That's a juicy game. Tampa Bay 3.5. It's December. It's Brady. Packers Bears. Rams Cardinals on Monday night. Let's see. That is Arizona by 2.5 at home. It's kind of a must-win game for the Rams, sort of. They would lose their 5th. All right, I got them. And Jeremy, a reminder, we'll play that Mike McCarthy audio after our picks. Oh, and we're not doing college because there's other than Army Navy, so it's just NFL films bad. Thanks. John Williams with yet another link. Tom Landry Highway.
Whether you're spending on the essentials like groceries or splurging on dinner from your favorite local restaurant, do so with your Discover credit card. Because only Discover automatically matches all the cash back you earned at the end of your first year. When it comes to Discover, get used to hearing
Warren Wheeler, good morning.
learn more.
Welcome in, Warren.
Limitations apply. 2021. Listen.
See if anything else jumps up. Oh, here is the Tom Landry bust at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Without the fedora. Anything else here that you need to see? It wouldn't be the Pro Football Hall of Fame without this man, O.J. Simpson. The Juice. And of course, the best there ever was. All right. Prophecy. We're making our 3 NFL picks each. I must pick the Cowboys game because I am duty bound to do so. Here we go. 8 o'clock hour.
This is the Chris Duel Show. Now, Chris Duel.
Our glorious football weekend has begun. It began last night with Thursday night football as the Minnesota Vikings tried their best to choke away a 29-0 lead. Pittsburgh Steelers came storming back. Ben Roethlisberger, down by 8 in the final seconds, led the Steelers down the field and into the end zone. A pretty good pass was not grasped, and the Steelers let that one get away. Minnesota holds on to win after a 29-0 lead. They win it 36-28. Ben Roethlisberger finishes the night with 308 yards and 3 touchdowns. But we turn our attention in just a moment to Sunday in the NFL. Chris Duel show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. Shannon and I will each pick 3 NFL football games. Then we'll talk more football. Mike McCarthy, we've got his audio as he goes on a limb regarding the Dallas-Washington game. That'll be high noon on Fox from FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland. Then just after 8 o'clock this morning at 8:35, Mark Vandermeer, the voice of the Houston Texans, going to join us. Houston Texans hosting the Seattle Seahawks. That's also a noon start on Sunday at NRG Stadium. So we'll not only talk Texans, but the very sad news that a lot of people woke up to this morning in the NFL. Demaryius Thomas, 5-time Pro Bowl wide receiver, most of his career with the Denver Broncos, passed away suddenly yesterday at the age of 33. He did spend some time with the Houston Texans, so we'll get Mark's thoughts on Demaryius Thomas as well. But first, Shannon, are you ready to look into the crystal ball and engage in some prophecy at this point?
I am. I feel pretty good about my picks this week. I feel more confident than I have in weeks prior. So let's do it.
I have learned to never feel good about my picks, which is going to explain one of them, actually. So, all right. Because and there is the Army-Navy game. Normally, if there were 3 college football games for us to dive into, we'd pick them. But so we will just only pick NFL games this week. We'll do some picking for the college bowl games as they begin to kick in earnest. But so right now, how about a little of that NFL Films music, Mr. Jeremy KOLOK? Let's do this thing. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Just let that music wash over you.
Feels good.
Get you in the mood.
All right,
Shannon
ready,
and I do this every week at this time. She'll pick 3, I pick 3, and we pick against the spread, which makes it even more difficult and opens us to more public humiliation, which I'm kind of getting used to when it comes to my football picks. So, Shannon, who do you got first in the National Football League?
All right. Not necessarily a big game on my radar, but I like my chances here. The Bengals are taking on the 49ers. The 49ers favored by 1.5 points. I think the Bengals, they played pretty well this year. They kind of lost their way a little bit last week against the Chargers. I think they'll look to bounce back with that line just being 1.5. I'm going to take the Bengals at plus 1.5 against the 49ers this weekend.
Very good pick. Plus, as we mentioned, Shannon, today is Joe Burrow's birthday. So,
that's right.
You know,
and
I mean,
I wonder what his wish is.
His wish is that he could just beat the darn 49ers. See,
Right.
Joe Burrow was born in 1996. This is 2021. That makes him, what, 25 years old, I think? Doing some math or attempting to. Joe Burrow, a quarter of a century old. And I've never liked the 49ers, so I hope you're right. Go Bengals in that one. I'm going to go in order of kickoff time. I've got a game at noon that I'm picking. I've got a game at 3:25 that I'm picking on Sunday, and I've got the Monday night game that I'm picking. So the first game I'm picking, Shannon, is the Washington football team hosting America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are 4.5-point favorites. Shannon, if you've been paying attention, my picks are horrid all season long. I suck at picking against the spread. Therefore, part strategically and part I'm starting to get worried about the Cowboys, and part Mike McCarthy guaranteeing a victory. All of those add up to me. I am picking the Washington football team plus 4.5. I hope I'm wrong, or I hope the Cowboys win by 3, although I'd rather the Cowboys win by 30. But part of my motivation is I am so wrong in my picks. I want to be able to say, wow, I really sucked at that pick because the Cowboys won big. So it's a little reverse psychology. It's a little anti-jinx. And you know I believe in sports jinxes. So therefore, Shannon, give me the Washington football team plus 4.5, high noon in Landover, Maryland against the Cowboys.
I can't say I love the pick, but I like the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, the reasoning is that I suck at picking. That's the reason. And a reverse jinx on Washington.
A team that I've been picking a lot this season that has ultimately let me down many, many times, even with a 7-5 record, the Buffalo Bills. They're taking on Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this weekend in that afternoon slot. They lost to the Patriots on national television, Monday Night Football. And I don't see them performing any better against former Patriot Tom Brady and his Buccaneers. They've got a lot of things to figure out. I sure, just like you in your Cowboys pick, kind of going with the reverse psychology and that the hopes that they pull it out, that they are able to get the win because they need it. They're still fighting for that division. But I just don't see it with 3.5 points. I got to give them to Tom Brady. So I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers minus 3.5 against the Buffalo Bills.
Wow, a bold pick, and I know a pick that hurts because Mitch Morse, as our listeners know, starting center for the Buffalo Bills, is a personal friend of yours. You grew up with him in the neighborhood. You got him on the show with us before the season. So I know you want the Bills. The Bills are your Super Bowl pick. I'm picking this game as well, Shannon, and for a lot of the reasons that you have. The biggest one that I'm picking the Buccaneers like you. They're 3.5-point favorites. So we lay the 3.5. It's Buccaneers minus 3.5, but it's December. I mean, it's the Tom Brady, this defending Super Bowl champion Buccaneers team. They're 5-0 at home. Now Buffalo's 4-2 on the road, which is pretty good. But Buffalo, a short week coming off their Monday Night Football loss. And I just think, I believe the Buccaneers, like they did last season, I believe they're getting better as the season goes along. And I believe Brady knows, and he leads this locker room, that December is money time, and December is when you need to lock in and get ready to go to the playoffs. So I'm with you. You and I have the same pick on that game. Tampa Bay minus 3.5 over your beloved Buffalo Bills.
All right, Chris, the entree on Sunday night is oh so delicious with a 4-8 Bears team taking on the 9-3 Green Bay Packers. A crazy line at minus 12.5 in favor of the Packers. The last time these two teams met up, It was Aaron Rodgers. It was him running into the end zone. It was him screaming, I own you, over and over to his fans. That line has come into question a lot this week, wondering if maybe he'll regret it. I don't think so. We've got Justin Fields back in the saddle for Chicago. They're just a mess right now, and against Green Bay, I just don't see it happening for him. So I'm actually going to take all those points and give them the Green Bay and take them at minus 12.5 Sunday night against the Chicago Bears.
That, and we always say it, Shannon, whenever there's a double-digit point spread in the NFL, that's a little crazy. Now, last week I went against that because the Texans were double-digit dogs. And they lost 31-0. So, I mean, often Vegas knows what it's doing. But I am noticing, I'm looking at that one, Shannon, the Packers, like the Buccaneers, are 5-0 at home. They just don't lose at home this year at Lambeau Field. So that's probably a good pick. We'll see if the Packers can win by 13 or more with that 12.5 point spread. Always a bold pick when you are laying more than 10 points in the NFL, as Shannon picks the Packers minus 12.5. I go with the final game of the week. It's the Monday night entree / dessert, and it's a good one from State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. The team with the best record in the NFC. I want them to lose as a Cowboys fan. The Arizona Cardinals at 10-2, hosting the 8-4 LA Rams. Kind of almost a must game for the Rams. The Rams don't want to lose their 5th game of the season. They could fall into some jeopardy of maybe being on the outside looking in for the playoffs if they continue to lose. Arizona, I almost called them St. Louis. That's how old I am. The Arizona Cardinals, a 2.5 point favorite. I just think at home, I don't trust the Rams this year, Shannon. They're 8-4. I think the Cardinals, even though they're only 3-2 at home this year, I think they take care of business. I think they assert themselves at home, and I think they bury the Rams, at least for any hopes of catching the Cardinals in that NFC West. So I am taking the Arizona Cardinals on Monday Night Football minus 2.5 to win over the Rams. Them's be my picks, Shannon Salty Sweeney.
It's another one of your picks where I'm complex because I do like this pick, but I also, again, as a Cowboys fan, I need Arizona to lose. That would very much
the good news is I'm often wrong.
See, there's that as well. So to recap, Chris is taking the Cardinals minus 2.5 versus the Rams. He's taking the Bucks minus 3.5 versus the Bills, and Washington at plus 4.5 against the Cowboys. I've got the Bengals at plus 1.5 against the 49ers. The Bucks also minus 3.5 versus the Bills, and the Packers at minus 12.5 against the Bears.
Man, if you and I are both right and the Buffalo Bills don't win at Tampa, and my God, what a tall order they have this weekend, Buffalo could go to 7-6, and so many people have them as a Super Bowl team this year. Crazy. And if they would have just beaten New England, they would have moved ahead of New England in the AFC East on Monday night. I mean,
it's just
the margin for
how one game can change something like that.
Crazy. And that was a 14-10 game. Yeah. So there's that. Those are the picks. Don't forget, coming up just after 8:35, Mark Vandermeer, the voice of the Houston Texans, as the Texans will be hosting the Seattle Seahawks high noon on Sunday at NRG Stadium. All right, Shannon, you alluded to this earlier, as did Coach A, Paul Alexander, Mike McCarthy, talking to the media. You know, Shannon, before we hear the audio, Paul Alexander said he kind of likes it. Again, you brought up Tom Landry and the fedora. And oh, by the way, I tweeted you the photo of Tom Landry's fedora from the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which was wise of you to bring up, because that's if I had all the money in the world, I'd probably try to acquire that. But you would never hear Tom Landry do that. I guarantee we're going to beat Washington. I mean, he wasn't, because he was a prudent head coach, and he knew in the end you don't make guarantees unless you're Joe Namath in the NFL, because those can come back to bite you. Paul Alexander told us an hour ago he kind of liked this. I don't know that I like it. How do you feel about it before we listen to it?
I'm not a fan of it really coming from him. I don't know where he gets the confidence to say that from, other than unless he saw something different than us in sitting on the couch and watching the last Cowboys game, because he wasn't on the sideline and he wasn't there coaching. So unless something drastic has gone on behind the scenes, I don't feel as confident as him. And like I said, like even in life, you don't guarantee things. Death
No.
and taxes, those are your guarantees. And I'm not a big fan of giving teams bulletin board material, and this is exactly what he gave to the Washington football team.
To a division rival, and arguably going all the way back to Landry, the most bitter rivalry the Cowboys have, certainly historically over time. All right, Shannon, let's listen to it, and then we've got some Ron Rivera rebuttal. But Dallas Cowboys head coach and couch potato Mike McCarthy, his comments yesterday.
We know what people think of us. We love that. We're comfortable who we are, where we are. But I'm excited about what's in front of us because we're going to win this game. I'm confident in that, and just the prep that's going into it. But more importantly, we want to improve too along the way. So I think that's all part about what the challenge of December football gives you.
So I think that's a cry for help, Shannon. I think he's starting to worry about his job. Lots of people like us are saying, you know what? Kellen Moore runs the offense. Dan Quinn runs the defense. What do you really do, Mike McCarthy, other than screw up time management in these games?
Yeah.
If Jimmy Johnson did kind of make a brash prediction like this back in but it was Jimmy Johnson, a guy who would back things up. When Jimmy Johnson said something like this, you go, yeah, it's Jimmy Johnson, damn it. When Mike McCarthy says something like this, to me, it's a cry for help.
It almost seems like he's saying it so that way, if the Cowboys pull it off and they win, that he can do like a check the tape kind of thing. See, told you. Like he's doing it for himself. More than anything. More than the team. And then Ron Rivera, in an interview later yesterday, was asked about this guaranteed Cowboys win by one head coach, Mike McCarthy, and he had quite the response.
Mike McCarthy basically guaranteed a win, going out there and saying Dallas will get this victory. What is your response when you hear a head coach saying that?
I think it's interesting. I don't think it's important. I think that's the big mistake, is because as far as I'm concerned, you do that for a couple of reasons. One is you want to get in our head. So I've told our players, that's interesting. It's not important. What's important is our preparation, getting ready to play on Sunday. Secondly, he's trying to convince his team. So again, I think that's another mistake, because he's now made it about him and what he said, not about his players anymore. So I think that's the big mistake. That's why, to me, you don't do those things. What you do is you focus in on, you get ready, you play football. We show up on Sunday, and we'll see what happens.
Wow. See, Shannon, that's a coach who is prudent, who, like you, says the only guarantees are death and taxes. I would so much rather have Ron Rivera as my coach than Mike McCarthy. And you know what just struck me, Shannon, and let's find out on Sunday at noon. This might be the Mike, I believe in the Tony Romo jinx. I believe in the blue jersey jinx. I believe in the Sports Illustrated jinx, the Madden jinx. This might be the Mike McCarthy jinx. You, Mike McCarthy, just guaranteed a Dallas Cowboys victory in one of their biggest games of the season. He might have just jinxed him, Shannon, because that was so foolhardy. And like Ron Rivera, most coaches in the NFL would say what Ron Rivera just said. You don't do that. Why did it make so much news? Because coaches don't do this. They don't make guarantees like this. Not in the NFL. I think Mike McCarthy may have just jinxed the Dallas Cowboys. Oh, and by the way, I think they are wearing the blue jerseys, so you could have a double jinx.
They
on
are.
Sunday.
They are wearing the blue jerseys, which I feel like they're always good for in at least one Washington game. Yeah, I mean, he called it a mistake. He called it what it was. I think. I don't know if McCarthy thought that, Ron would then later be asked about it, or if he even thought about the idea of bulletin board material. It was interesting that Ron kind of took it as like, well, it's interesting. I mean, I told our player, like, it doesn't really matter. But these players, they're young guys. And when the opposing coach is like guaranteeing that you're going to lose because you're Washington and look at your record, or look at what you've done so far this season compared to what we've done. I mean, that is bulletin board material. mistake or not, they're going to be thinking about that. So I'm ready for like they get a sack on Dak and they're pointing and looking over at Mike McCarthy, or they score a touchdown and they make fun of Mike. Like, that's what I'm ready for now that this is out there.
And again, Shannon, I brought it up earlier. If the Cowboys lose this game, doubt, and especially after that guarantee, doubt will begin to enter the minds of the Cowboys, of their fans, of their coaching staff. Even the other coaches have to be wondering, what is Mike McCarthy doing? Even if you're on the Cowboys staff, I wonder what Dan Quinn thinks about that. Like, really, dude? You just went out and gave them bulletin board material? My God. Coming up, we love talking football. We love talking Houston Texans with Mark Vandermeer, the voice of the Houston Texans. And on a day that a lot of people woke up to the news that broke last night, the sad passing of Demaryius Thomas at the age of 33 overnight. He spent a little time with the Houston Texans. We'll talk about him as well. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney, Jeremy KOLOK making the show go. Mark Vandermeer next on the Chris Duel Show. All right. I'm going to text Mark and remind him that we are coming. What's happening?
Are you auditioning to become one of the village people?
No, it's my Spurs hard hat. They've got a hard task to win 2 in a row against the Denver Nuggets. Although I would have been the Native American. When I was a kid, I wanted to be the Native American and the village people.
Next Friday, let's plan on going to the Big Bid.
Okay.
For lunch.
Okay. Let me
Check the calendar.
Yeah. I don't know that I have it with me right now, but I will. If I can't check it right now, I will check it. That sounds good.
Okay.
So okay. I can't believe I don't have my calendar.
Okay, cool. Double check, please.
Yeah, I will. But yeah, so like midday, noonish. 11:30. Okay. Okay. I'll check that. But I'm going to send you an email to me and you right now to remind me it's 11:30. Because if I don't write it down, I might lose it. Okay. Thank you.
Inspired by State Farm surprisingly great rates.
All right.
Tackle your worst cold and flu symptoms with Max Strength NyQuil Sofia. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, sore throat, stuffy head, aching fever, best sleep with a cold medicine. Use as directed.
Find it in cold and flu aisle at a Walmart near you.
At LASIK Plus, we literally have thousands of five-star reviews. Our patients love the service LASIK Plus provides and the outcomes. So we decided to check in on some of our reviewers. Hi, are you Sarah _34?
Yeah.
I'm from LASIK Plus. We just wanted to thank you for giving LASIK Plus a 5-star review.
Oh, they were great. I got a customized treatment plan, and they just made it all so easy. My neighbor was right. LASIK Plus is the best.
Oh, so your neighbor was a patient too?
Yeah, Frank.
Frank Doggy Dog 778?
Maybe.
He's our next stop. At LASIK Plus, we're now offering 20% off LASIK with our latest Wavelight laser when treated in December. Visit mylasicoffer.com. LASIK Plus, the patient's choice for LASIK. Must mention this promotion and be treated in December of 2021 to qualify. 20% off standard price of Wavelight procedure cannot be combined with any other offers. Go to mylasicoffer.com for details.
All right. Frank Ramirez, good morning. Fred, thanks for finding us on YouTube. Fred was having a hard time with the Facebook connection. So for everybody else, if you're ever having a problem with one or the other, there's a YouTube Twitter feed that he accessed. Jeremy is getting ready to call Mark Vandermeer. (2018) Here we go. Mark Vandermeer, the not there? Try him again. I texted him. He's expecting it. little Nirvana for you, a Seattle band. Nirvana's Come As You Are by request by the voice of the Houston Texans, Mark Vandermeer. Mark Vandermeer, the Nirvana music kind of gets us in the mood for a little Seattle football for the Texans, high noon on Sunday.
Yeah, coming down from the country of grunge, as the Seahawks are not having the kind of season they want at all. But, you know, they come from that city, so I figured this would not be a bad way to go as they visit NRG Stadium for only the fourth time in history. Actually, it's the third time, Chris, because they were here in 09-13, and this is it. The third time, second visit for Russell Wilson. 2013, it was a really bad day for the Texans, and I'm hoping for a really good one on Sunday.
And you mentioned Russell Wilson, Mark. He and the Seahawks, like the Texans this year, kind of having a rocky season. I think that's kind of going to make for an interesting game. And the Texans coming off the lopsided loss last week would be really nice to bounce back and get well against the Seattle Seahawks.
That was such a terrible game. You know, you turn it over the first play, and then on the fifth play, and it just slid out of control instantly against the Colts. I mean, that was really hard to take, Chris. You know, the week before, I actually felt more pain, like football pain, from the loss to the Jets, because I really felt like you should at least, you know, be competitive, and they were competitive with them, but they couldn't win. And against the Colts, they were completely dismantled, and they had a lot to do with it, you know, self-inflicted wounds. Well, with Seattle, they're having a bad season, but they're coming off win over San Francisco. They own San Francisco for some reason. And Russell Wilson, as highly regarded as he might be, I think he's underappreciated around the league. This guy has played in 2 Super Bowls since the following quarterbacks have been to one. Roethlisberger, Breeze, Rodgers. I mean, you think of...
Wow.
Those guys are so well regarded, yet he is a player who's never had a losing season. Now, he's probably going to have one this year because they have to win out to avoid that. And I hope they have a losing season because I want the Texans to win Sunday. But I think that he doesn't get his due. He's 4th all-time in quarterback rating, and he's also 4th all-time in rushing for quarterbacks. That's a heck of a parlay right there when you combine those 2 stats. So he's still dangerous to me. Finger injury, whatever. He can make plays, and you better be ready.
Well, I'm sure, given the way the season's gone for the Texans, the Seahawks may be looking at this game as kind of a pick-me-up if they can end up getting the win when they do visit Houston in NRG. And, you know, Texans last weekend with that loss to the Colts officially eliminated from all playoff contention. So what does that mean for this team going forward with games left to play in the season?
Well, it's a good question, Shannon, because I think that Davis Mills will start, but I don't know anything. I believe David Culley will announce that today. I don't think he's going to say game-time decision. He can keep it a mystery, but, you know, with Tyrod Taylor playing the way he has, which is not very good, and he hasn't been himself. I don't know what's wrong. I know he had the hamstring, and he came back from that, and obviously now he's got a wrist problem, but he just hasn't been himself. He is not a turnover-prone quarterback, but he's played like one in this offense. Now, Mills, as tough as it's been for him, he had that 4-interception game at Buffalo. Other than that, he doesn't turn the ball over. So at least you're going to hold on to the rock with Davis Mills in the lineup. I don't know if he can run the ball because you haven't done it all year, really. It was a tiny bit better at times last week, but you put no points on the board. So I think Mills, this is a good chance, if he gets the start, to show that he belongs in this league and maybe belongs as a starter. He'll get it for the rest of the way. And you're evaluating guys like Nico Collins and tight end Brevin Jordan and defensive lineman Roy Lopez, guys who are young players that you want to have around here for a while. I think that's what it's about these last 5 games.
He's the voice of the Houston Texans, Mark Vandermeer. He'll have the call at high noon on a Sunday as the Texans host the Seattle Seahawks. And Mark, you're right. Davis Mills doesn't turn the ball over, even in that lopsided Colts game when he came into the game. 6 of 14, 49 yards, didn't throw a touchdown, but did not throw an interception. And it just kind of reminds me, while I watch what the New England Patriots are doing with Mac Jones, Mark, that's really a kind of an interesting way to bring in a quarterback. I mean, obviously it was weird for the Patriots on Monday night against Buffalo, only throwing the ball 3 times and only throwing it once in the first 3 quarters. But it seems in general, the Patriots are kind of limiting Mac Jones's playbook and not having him throw dangerous passes. And as a rookie in the NFL, I would imagine as a quarterback, you learn more every week. So if you can find a quarterback who doesn't turn the ball over and manage the game well, you're doing well. And obviously a different team, a different quarterback with the Patriots. But I think Davis Mills shows a lot of potential, certainly from a game management point of view.
Yeah, I think he does, and we've seen him able to throw the ball downfield at times this year. If you just take his best plays, hey, it looks pretty good. If you take my best golf swings, I look okay, I guess. But I think Mills has a lot of potential here. I didn't mean to joke about the golf thing, but when you have a rookie quarterback and you take his best plays, you say that's who he can be. I think that speaks highly of his potential. Now, you have to meet that potential. You have to get better every week, no matter who you are, especially as a rookie. You have to keep on improving. Otherwise, you slide backwards. It's like a shark. If you're not moving forward, you die, even though that's not really true scientifically about sharks, I guess. And you mentioned Mac Jones. He has not had to bring them back much, right? In this winning streak, they're either playing really close or they get the lead and they kind of sit on it or distance themselves, get some separation. It's not like they've been down 3 touchdowns and he's had to rally the troops and throw a bunch of TDs and really swing it 40 times to carve out a win. They haven't had to do that yet, and maybe that's coming for them. But credit them, they're doing great. It makes me want to vomit because I hate the Patriots. Now for the Texans, we'll see if they can get Mills going here these final 5 games, if he indeed is the guy. I would be surprised if he doesn't get the bulk of the starts here down the stretch because, you have to be able to evaluate him. You have to know going into the offseason, do we need a quarterback high in the draft or not? They've got to be able to answer that question.
Mark, earlier in the season, it seemed like we're having a bit of a fire sale, players like Mark Ingram back to the Saints and other players from the roster. And then this week, linebacker Zach Cunningham gets released. What was the reasoning behind that move, and why was now the right time to do it?
Well, they deactivated him twice for violation of team rules this year, Shannon, and I think that they finally had enough. They said, look, if we're not able to work together, let's part company here. Now, the good thing for the Texans is the Titans pick him up on waivers, so they get the contract. The bad thing for the Texans is he's a pretty good player, and he might really thrive in that defense. We'll see. He wasn't always in the right spot, but he made a lot of plays for this team. He led the league in tackles last year. This year, he started off slowly. Then he got it going. And then, he misses a COVID test. That was the report. And they sit him down for the game. And defensively, they played pretty decent. I know you look at 31 points and say, how can you say that? But it's the same song for this defense almost every week. They keep you in the game, but ultimately in the second half, they kind of give out because the offense can't move the football. That's happened a bunch this year. It happened again. If you look at the DVOA and other advanced stats for this defense, they're actually making some plays. The offense could do their thing. So that's been happening. As far as Zach goes, and some of the other guys that they parted company with, they just feel like they're better off in the long run and go with their young players and develop them and see where it takes them from there. I know it's frustrating for a lot of people. What's really frustrating is not winning games. If you're winning games, I don't want to say who cares about the rest of it, but it really is a lot easier to take. This is a 2-10 football team right now, and you just hope for the very best here. You want something positive to happen down the stretch.
And speaking about just the attitude of fans, Mark, both at the games at NRG Stadium, and I know you do a lot of sports talk in Houston, so you interact with the fans throughout the week. I mean, the Houston Texans in general, for so many years in the J.J. Watt era, in the Deshaun Watson era, the Texans have been a very good football team, have always been knocking on the door of the playoffs, if not going to the playoffs in the AFC South. In Houston, where sports fans have been used to the Houston Texans playing well, used to the Houston Astros playing well. How are the fans handling this season of adversity for the Houston Texans?
They're not handling it very well, Chris, and I think that it shows you how big football is, right? Because when the Astros were going through, and we might have talked about this before, when they were going through their bad seasons, their 100 lost seasons, I don't want to say nobody cared, but you just didn't hear the ire and anger and frustration. People just sort of checked out, and that was it, right? And with the Rockets struggling earlier this season, you didn't hear a peep out of people. They weren't upset. If a football team struggles like the Houston Texans in this particular hotbed of football, it's anger city. And people are so ripped, frustrated, expressing their displeasure in every way, shape, and form. That means they care. And that's a good thing. So, I mean, it's a good thing that they care. It's not a good thing that you're struggling. So it really incentivizes them even more to turn it around as quickly as possible. And I don't know how fast it's going to be, but, I think they have the right people in place to do it. I think Nick Caserio is the right guy, but it's a matter of, can you make the moves and can you get results from them as quickly as possible? And what does that mean? I don't even know how to define quickly, but I think you have to show progress. It'd be nice to show some progress in these final 5 games, just a little bit. And then next year, be the young and scrappy Houston Texans, upset people, flirt with at least, there's no 500 anymore, but flirt with that kind of thing and show that you can knock off some of the big boys and that you're very close to making that playoff run that everybody covets so much.
Yeah, and it looked like we were getting to that when they beat the Titans just a couple of weeks ago. Voice of the Houston Texans, Mark Vandermeer. Mark, finally, a lot of us heard it last night. Some people woke up to the news this morning. Just a tragic, tragic story in the National Football League. Demaryius Thomas, 33 years old, 5-time Pro Bowler, won a Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos, but also spent some time with the Houston Texans in 2018 when the Broncos traded Demaryius Thomas to the Houston Texans. By all accounts, Demaryius Thomas, who passed away yesterday, regarded by fellow teammates and people who knew him in the NFL as a very, very good guy. I'm just wondering, as the voice of the Houston Texans, your memory of Demaryius Thomas's time, not only with the Texans, but as you also saw him flourish with the Broncos in the NFL.
Yeah, I think the prevailing memory of him as a player for the Broncos is Tebow hitting him for that touchdown in overtime against the Steelers in the playoffs, right? That was phenomenal and a great moment for Tebow as well. And then in 2018, the Texans having injuries at wide receiver. Brian Gaines traded a 4th rounder for Thomas, and we were playing Denver that week. So it was really strange to go to Mile High and you see a gigantic poster of Demaryius Thomas on the side of the building as the buses pull up, and you're thinking, and he's in a Bronco uniform, and they're paying tribute to him. And you're thinking, wow, he's on our team today, and they're paying tribute to that guy that way. So that was a really strange pregame moment, and it was probably really bittersweet for Demaryius. And then the Texans open on the opening drive, they throw to him. They complete at least a couple of passes to him on that drive, and it was really cool to see that happen that particular day. The Texans won the game on a Brandon McManus missed field goal. And Thomas, he wasn't here for long, but it was great to be around him because you saw the kind of respect people had for him as a veteran of this league and the kind of guy he was. And, I'm not sure of all the details here, but yeah, such a tragic, terrible story.
Absolutely awful, and I'm sure we'll learn more as the weekend progresses. Mark Vandermeer will have the call high noon on Sunday from NRG Stadium as the Texans host the Seattle Seahawks. And, of course, we will have that call for you pregame beginning at 11:30 on AM 1300 The Zone out of Austin, Ticket 760 out of San Antonio, and across the Houston Texans radio network. Mark, have a great call. We will be listening on Sunday, and we'll talk again next week.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Shannon. Take care.
Absolutely. Thank you. The voice of the Houston Texans, Mark Vandermeer. And Shannon, I would imagine throughout all the football games on Sunday, and I know we'll be paying close attention to Cowboys, Washington. I'm sure we'll hear announcers and players paying tribute to Demaryius Thomas. Just a sad, awful story.
Yeah. Gone way too soon. way, way too soon.
Well, Shannon, hopefully I am wrong about the game that I picked, but it was a reverse psychology, reverse jinx pick, but I really worried that Mike McCarthy jinxed the Cowboys by guaranteeing a victory. But it worked for Namath. But Mike McCarthy is no Joe Namath. That's all I'm saying.
Do two jinxes, the blue jersey jinx and a guaranteed win jinx, cancel each other out?
They might, depending on your jinx mathematics. That's a great question. We might have to look into that. Shannon, outstanding as always. Great to have you back this week. We missed you when you went away for 2 days midweek, but great to have you back. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, sir. You as well.
Woo! And it was great to have Jeremy back. Jeremy, have no idea when we'll see you again because I never know the schedule.
You'll see me at some point.
We'll see you at some point.
I can guarantee that.
Good to see you. We appreciate it. All right. I want to thank Mark Vandermeer, the voice of the Houston Texans. Paul Alexander calling the Lubbock, Cooper, Dallas, South Oak Cliff game tonight in Abilene. Have yourself a great football weekend. Go Cowboys. Go Spurs. In Pop we trust. And we will see you at 6 a.m. on Monday. Adios. Yeah, Marcus, Jimmy did make a guarantee, and I alluded to that. But, I mean, Jimmy Johnson has gravitas, and Mike McCarthy.